Hello students, how are you all? Okay, so we will be studying the first chapter in economics today. It is a story of the village of Palampur. Through this story, we are going to learn about factors of production. Last class, we did economic concepts. You all did difference between wants and needs. You all now know that economics is a study of the human behavior when the resources are limited and wants are unlimited. Today we will learn and see this hypothetical and idealist village. It's an Indian village. So we will learn about it. I will be showing you all a few videos in the middle, and I will need you all to have a wide sense of imagination. So we will begin with that. Okay, so the first chapter is the story of village Palampur. The purpose of this story is to introduce some basic concepts relating to production, and we are going to do this through a story of a hypothetical village which is called Palampur. There are 4 objectives to this chapter: to understand the factors of production, that is land, labor, capital, and I had used the term entrepreneurship in the last class. You will learn in this chapter it is also called human capital. You will also understand the modern farming methods. You will learn, there's a spelling mistake in that slide. Okay, you will also learn the difference between farming activities and non-farming activities. And you will learn why the tertiary sector is such a fast developing sector. Okay. So Palampur is an imaginary village. Over here, farming is the main activity. So most of the people are engaged in farming. There are also certain other activities which are small scale manufacturing, dairy, transport, etc. But these are carried out on a limited scale. These production activities need various types of resources: natural resources, man-made resources. They need human efforts, and they also need a lot of money. So we will learn about Palampur, which is a very well-connected village with its neighbors. There is a town, big village, sorry, Raiganj, that is 3 kilometers from Palampur, and an all-weather road. That means a road that can be used in all forms of weather. This kind of a road connects the village to Raiganj, and also further, it's related to a small town called Shahpur. There are many kinds of transport which are available on this road. Examples are bullock carts, tongas, bogies, which are wooden carts drawn by buffaloes. And these are generally loaded with jaggery and other commodities. You also see lots of motor vehicles like motorcycles, jeep, tractors, and trucks. So you all already know that production is a very important activity, and we are going to be learning factors of production. So we'll start with a small introductory video.
Production is the key to the economic development of a country. Production can be agricultural, like cultivation of crops, or industrial, like manufacturing of goods. Over 70% of the population in India still lives in villages. People living in villages require various goods and services, many of which are produced locally. Thus, a village is a good place to understand various concepts related to production. We have chosen Palampur as the place to study production. Palampur could be in any part of India, from Jammu and Kashmir to Kerala, Gujarat, or Assam. This imaginary place called Palampur represents a small village in India. Palampur is pretty well connected by road. A 3-kilometer-long all-weather road connects Palampur to a bigger neighboring village called Raiganj. From Raiganj, the same road continues to the nearest town of Shahpur. If you travel on the road from Shahpur to Palampur, you will find an amazing mix of transport. Dongas, bullock carts, bogies, motorcycles, jeeps, trucks, and tractors are all used to transport people and goods on this road. Palampur is a small village inhabited by about 450 families.
Okay, so you have seen that Palampur is well connected with neighboring villages and towns. We know that Raiganj, which is a big village, is connected with Palampur with an all-weather road, which is a 3-kilometer long road. This road also further connects Palampur to Shahpur, which is a small town. You all also saw the kind of transport system which is visible on these roads, from bullock carts to tongas, bogies, motor vehicles like motorcycles, jeeps, tractors are all there. Now we will look at how many people are living in this village, and we will learn about them. Okay. So this village has about 450 families, and all of them belong to different castes. 80 families from them belong to upper caste, and most of the majority of the land of the village are owned by these 80 upper caste families. Okay. Then 1/3, the SC Dalits, that is scheduled castes and Dalits, they comprise of 1/3 of the population. So 1/3 of 450 is 150. So around 150 of them are scheduled castes and Dalits. Okay, so they live in one corner of the village. And if you look at the houses owned by the upper caste families are very large. They are made of brick and cement plastering. And if you look at the houses of the Dalits, they are much smaller, and some of them are made out of mud and straw. Okay, so another thing that we also know is, as I've told you, this is a very hypothetical village. So for this particular village, we have electric connections in most of the houses. That means electricity is there. Electricity powers all the tube wells that are needed in the fields. All the small businesses have electricity. Okay. Then there are 2 primary schools and there is 1 high school. Even the medical facilities are very good. There is a healthcare center that is run by the government. And there is also a private dispensary where sick can be treated. Yes. So this is the village that we are talking about.
As in most villages in India, people in Palampur belong to many different castes. The 80 upper caste families in Palampur have pakka houses made of brick and cement plaster. If you visit them, you will find that some of these houses are quite large. The Dalits account for about 1/3 of the total population of Palampur. They live in a corner of the village in small houses made of mud and straw. Palampur is one of the increasing number of villages in India that have electricity. Most houses in Palampur have electricity connections. Electricity is also used to run tube wells in the fields and support local businesses. You may be surprised to know that in many villages in India, children walk several kilometers to reach their school. However, children in Palampur are lucky. Palampur has 2 primary schools and 1 high school where the children can study. The residents of Palampur also have access to good healthcare services. A government-run primary healthcare center and a private dispensary take care of the sick. So you see, Palampur is a pretty little village where people have good access to road connectivity, transport, education, electricity, and healthcare services.
So now you all can see with this description that Palampur is fairly well developed. And you can see they have a system of road, they have transport, they have school, they have electricity, and they have good healthcare. So now here is your first activity. You are going to compare these facilities with the facilities available in your village. You all must have a village. I want you all to compare and let me know if the development in your village is better than Palampur or is it worse. Also, another thing I wanted to bring to your notice that this narrative, this story, is partly based on a research that was done by Gilbert Etienne. And he had done a research on a village in Bulandshahr. Okay, this is a district in Western Uttar Pradesh. This information is very important because the question that I will give you all at the end of the at the end of this session will require it. So very important that at the moment we are considering that this village belongs to Bulandshahr, which is a district in Western Uttar Pradesh. So the story of Palampur is an imaginary village, and it will take us to different types of production activities in the village. So if you look at the production activities that we have in the village, what kind of production can we see? So you will always tell me the first one is going to be farming. So like most of the villages, farming is the main activity in Palampur, but farming cannot feed a person enough, and farming cannot happen 365 days. So they need some they need some add-on. Okay, they need something to support them. So the other production activities, which are also commonly referred to as non-farming activities, they are like they involve all small manufacturing units, transports, shopkeeping, dairy, etc. Okay, so we are going to be taking a look at both these activities, and we will be learning about small or general things of production. Okay. So the aim of production is to produce the goods and services that we want. So like I had told you all last time, that there are 4 requirements. So there are 4 factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So over here, we are going to speak about it in a little detail. There are 3 requirements for production of goods and services: land, labor, physical capital. Okay, and physical capital is further divided into 2 parts, that is fixed capital and working capital. And there's a 4th requirement that is for production, that is called as human capital. So over here I have divided 3 and the 4th one is given down. But you all remember that there are 4 factors of production, not 3. So we'll go back to the video because I want you all to see it. It gives you better.
Now let us take a look at the production activities that people in Palampur are engaged in. Like most villages in India, agriculture is the main occupation in Palampur. However, all farmers in Palampur are not equally fortunate. The 80 upper caste families own a majority of the cultivated land in Palampur. The other farmers either own small plots of land or are landless and work as laborers in the fields of the wealthy landowners. If you think all people in villages are farmers, you are not quite correct. Just like other villages in India, people in Palampur are engaged in several non-farming activities like shopkeeping, dairy, small-scale manufacturing, and transport services. All these production activities require natural resources like land and water, man-made resources like raw material, human effort and intelligence, and of course, money. In the subsequent modules, we will see how these resources are used to produce goods and services in Palampur. We use a number of goods and services every day. All these goods and services, from the food we eat, to the clothes we wear, and the appliances we use, and services like the bank we have an account in, and the transport we use to travel, are made available to us through production. Suppose you have a great idea about making a product or service required by people. Before you can put your idea into action, you will need to consider the factors required for its production. Whether you want to produce a crop, set up an office, or build a factory, you will need some place to do so. Thus, the first requirement for production is land. Land as a production factor also includes other natural resources like water, forests, and minerals found in the Earth's crust. The second requirement for production is labor or workforce. These are the people who do the different tasks involved in production. As is clear from the pictures, some tasks require hard manual labor, while others require higher education and technical skills. A production activity needs certain inputs to produce an output in the form of the desired goods and services. The third requirement for production is the inputs required for the different stages of production. These inputs are called physical capital or simply capital. The most important factor here is the entrepreneur, who is willing to risk his capital to start a production activity. Physical capital includes inputs like machinery and tools, money and raw material required for production. Some inputs like the building of a factory and the tools and machinery installed in it can be repeatedly used for production year after year. They do not get used up in production. Such inputs are called fixed capital. Note that fixed capital can vary from a simple plow used by a farmer to a sophisticated laptop computer. Inputs like raw material and the money used for buying it, paying electricity bills and the wages of workers, etc., get used up in the production activity. These inputs are called working capital and are required every time the production activity takes place. Let us take the example of a potter to understand the difference between working capital and fixed capital. The potter uses money to buy clay. The potter uses the clay to make pots. Money and clay get used up in the production of pots. Hence, these are his working capital. However, the potter's wheel can be used again and again to make pots. It does not get used up in the production of pots. Thus, It is his fixed capital. The fourth requirement of production is human capital. Human capital is the knowledge and effort that is put in to arrange for the other factors like land, labor, and physical capital to start the production of goods or services. Thus, land, labor, physical capital, and human capital are the four requirements or factors of a production activity.
Yes, these are the four factors of production activity. The aim of production is to produce goods and services that we want. These are the four requirements. The first one, that is land, also includes natural resources like water, forest, minerals. The second one is labor, that is people who are willing or who will work. Now, some activities require lots of labor, they are labor intensive activities, while others require, intellectual work they need educated workers to perform the necessary task. But both these activities require labor. Okay, so while some activities have, manual work, the other have intellectual work, but each worker is providing the labor for production. The third, that is physical capital, is divided into two parts, that is fixed capital and working capital. Basically, physical capital is all the inputs that are required during production. Any sort of an input required falls under physical capital. Okay, but we can further divide this into fixed and working. Now, fixed are something that can be used repeatedly. You don't need to keep purchasing it again. You do not need to keep buying it again. It is used constantly through the entire process. This remains fixed in the production. Through the entire process of production, this particular input is fixed. For working, basically, for every production process, this working capital needs to be brought again. You need to again get it. It will get used up through the process. Some examples of fixed capital are tools, machines, buildings. Like tools can be very simple tools like a plow that a farmer uses or a laptop that we require. Okay, so even if you'll say, we will not require a different laptop for every work. Yes, but you will require it at some point. Yes. So simple tools such as a farmer's plow to sophisticated machines just as like generators, turbines, or computers, they are all tools, and so they fall under fixed capital. Fixed capital is something that we will not require again and again. A farmer is not going to buy a plow again and again for different crops. Similarly, we will not be buying laptop again and again and again. What is working capital? What we will require quite a lot. It's a recurring cost. So raw materials, money, all this falls in working capital. Production requires a variety of raw materials. Such, for example, a weaver will use yarn, a potter will use clay. Okay, some money is also required during production to make payments, to buy some items. So raw material and money in hand are called working capital. And tools, machines, buildings, these. So basically, fixed capital does not get used up in the production process, but working capital will get used up in the production process. Fixed capital will be used for many years over and over and over again, and working capital will not be used for many years over and over and over again. Okay. Besides this, there's a fourth requirement, that is the knowledge and enterprise. That is the knowledge to put together land, labor, and physical capital. And that knowledge and that effort, that thinking, that intellectual, that becomes human capital. Okay. So the knowledge to be able to put together land, labor, and physical capital and produce an output either for yourself or for selling in the market is called human capital. We will be learning human capital more in detail in the next chapter, so we will not be learning it this time. Okay, so this is what we just did. Factors of production. We have land, labor, and then we have capital, physical capital, working capital, and finally we have human capital. So now if you look at land, you all know that land is fixed and it is capped. That means there is little land. There is no method by which land can be increased. Okay, and the growth of population is increasing pressure on land, and also division of property. You know, if there is a property that there's a big property right now, but in the future it's going to be divided amongst the son and the children and through generations, and this results in smaller plots of agricultural land. Okay, this also affects the scale of production in farming. If you look at labor, labor is available in plenty. There's a lot of labor available. Okay, because of there are a lot of people who are unemployed, but many people from the poor section are illiterate, and because they are illiterate, they work as unskilled labor. Now, the government normally provides guidelines of minimum wages, okay, from time to time. But because the demand of labor is very less, and the unemployed people who are ready to provide the labor are huge, there's a huge supply of labor. So because of this, there are many cases where the farm workers may not be getting even the minimum wages. So they don't even get the minimum that is, according to the government guidelines. We spoke about physical capital, which is divided into fixed capital and working capital. Basically, physical capital is all the inputs that are required during production. Fixed capital are the tools and machines or the inputs that can be used again and again and again over a period of many years. They are fixed. They are fixed in the production process. Example is tools, the farmer's plow and a computer. They all fall under this. We have working capital, that is production requires a variety of raw materials. So all the raw materials that we use, all the money that we use during the production, everything that is used up in the production process falls in working capital. Okay, so any raw materials and money in hand are called working capital. We spoke about human capital, that is the person. We also need knowledge as a person. A person also needs knowledge and enterprise to be able to effectively manage production. In most of the cases, knowledge is passed down through generations. Government has also taken initiative in improving the knowledge of farmers. So what is factor of production? Every production is every production is organized by combining land, labor, physical capital, and human capital. And these four are known as factors of production. Now, in Palampur, okay, another activity that I want you all to do is in your textbooks, there is a picture on page number 2, and I want you all to look at that picture and list down all the physical capital. Okay, so I want you all to make 3 lists: physical capital, working capital, and fixed capital. Okay, remember, whether it is fixed capital or working capital, it will be a physical capital. Okay, so we have 3 lists: physical capital, fixed capital, and working capital. Look at the picture in your books on page number 2, picture 1.2, and just make a note. Yes. Now, if you look at Palampur, you will realize that the land is fixed. Farming is the main production activity, and 75% of the people who are working are dependent on farming for their livelihoods. Now, they could be farmers or they could be farm laborers. There is a basic constraint in raising farm production. Land area under cultivation is practically fixed. Since 1960 in Palampur, there has been no expansion in land area that is under cultivation. Some of the wastelands in the village had been converted to cultivable land, but there exists no further scope to increase farm production by bringing new land. So there is no the possibility that they can get any new land under production for increasing the production by cultivating any new land that is not already being cultivated. So is there any way that we can grow more, we can get more production out of the land? Yes, Palampur resembles a village in the western part of Uttar Pradesh. All land, very important, all land is cultivated in Palampur. No land is left idle. During rainy season, farmers grow jawar and bajra, and these plants are used as cattle feed. It is followed by cultivation of potato between October and December. In winter, fields are sown with wheat. From the wheat produced, farmers keep a little bit for themselves, how much ever they require for family's consumption. And the surplus wheat is sold at Raiganj market. And a small part of land is also devoted to grow sugarcane, and sugarcane is harvested once every year. Sugarcane in its raw form or as jaggery is sold to traders in Shahpur. Okay, I think we will continue this part next time. So with this, I will end today's class. You all know land is fixed in Palampur, and you all have to work. One, you have to do a comparison of Palampur with your own villages. And the second one is in your textbooks on page 2, there is a picture given. You're going to make 3 lists out of that picture. You're going to find physical capital, fixed capital, and working capital. Okay, with this, I end today's class. Stay home and stay safe.